Thank you very much. So as I mentioned before, welcome to our Term 1 2023 $20 Boss Kickoff event. To start off with our acknowledgement of country. So we acknowledge the traditional owners and custodians of the lands on which we work and pay our respects to Indigenous elders past, present, and emerging. Sovereignty has never been ceded. It always was and always will be Aboriginal land. And I might just start off with a very brief introduction. My name is Jeff Messina. I am head of learning with YCA. We've got 3 team members that are going to be facilitating today's kickoff. Maybe a quick little quirky fact about me is I am recently got into obstacle course racing. So if there are any other people who like intentionally putting obstacles in front of themselves, then we can have a chat. I might throw now to Renee, who can briefly introduce herself.
Good evening, everyone. So I'm Renee Jones. So I'm recently employed by YCA about 3 weeks ago as the Queensland Regional Manager and Educator in Residence. Quirky fact, Jeff, I've done lots of obstacle course racing, so I could probably help you out if you want some tips. But also I've owned a karaoke business, which many people find astonishing because I cannot sing to save myself. But I identified a gap in the market and I went for it. So that's my quirky fact.
Over to you, Pete. Thanks, Renee.
Thanks, Jeff. Thanks, Renee. I wish I'd gone before you. So Pete Lead, I'm General Manager of Learning and Product here at Young Change Agents. Quirky fact about me is I moved to New Zealand about 1.5 years ago for a bit of a change of lifestyle. So now I live on a little farm just outside of Dunedin, right down south.
Brilliant. Thanks so much, Pete. So we thought we would kick off this $20 Boss session with a brief case study video to set some context of what is possible. So if you came earlier, you might have heard a little bit about $20 Boss, some of our staff talking about it, but we thought we would share with you a case study so you could see some possibilities here. So Pete, when you are ready.
Surfing is incredible. It's the best feeling ever. Going out, catching the wave, doing a couple turns. It's awesome. Hey, I'm Noah. I'm 15 years old and I'm currently in my little shop in my dining room at home. Sticky Pronk is an environmentally friendly surf wax brand made from all natural ingredients and biodegradable ingredients, so it's good for the environment. I just wanted to do something different and I thought I could stand out and do well in the project. I'm a surfer, so I chose surf wax and then I did a bit of research here and there and then found what's actually in surf wax, petrochemicals and paraffins and bleaches, so not good for the environment. The environmentally friendly side came over and it kind of just took it from there and kept on making my surf wax better and better. The $20 Boss program, it was pretty cool, answering all the modules and questions online, getting to know a little bit more about business and entrepreneurship. It was awesome just seeing how you go about it and how to start it, and that you could actually start it from pretty much nothing, from the ground up, with like 20 bucks. Mainly Mum and Dad have been a great help, driving me around, testing the wax, helping me out with making it. And then the other guys were Nick and Alex, as part of the Youth X program I got selected for. So they're helping me with contacts and getting my brand out there and how to do it. It's a bit of a struggle running it with school and swimming as well and surfing. But you kind of just find time for it here and there. Whenever you're not doing anything, you get up and do a bit of work, make a bit of wax, and you find time for it, you fit it in, because it's definitely worth it. Well, really the blend is still, it's good, but it's not quite where as I want it to be, and just getting it with biodegradable and good for the environment, and then having the whole company based around that, it's a lot more work than one would think. One thing I've learned about myself is that I'm all right at doing business. I knew more about it than I thought I did at the start, and I can get things done. It's pretty cool to see what I could do in that little time frame and, you know, pump out a business in a couple of years. Word of mouth is always the best, and you know, following me on socials and, you know, just getting my name out there, get onto shops and help the community. If I had any advice, I would just say, why not? Just do it. You know, if I've come this far with that program, you know, if I can do it, you can do it. I would never thought to start a surf wax brand on my own without the $20 Boss program.
Thanks so much, Pete. So I thought I would share with everyone just kind of the format of today's session. We're going to have a number of different breakout groups and rooms throughout this kickoff session. After we have some activities, so the breakout groups are a chance for you to raise some of the questions and share. We've got a mix of different experience levels for you to ask questions and get some feedback and some suggestions from some of our more experienced ones. We're very lucky because we have 3 educator champions joining us today, and they're going to share a little bit about their experience. And then we've got some opportunities to share some of the toolkits, some of the resources that would be most beneficial for you to look at if you are new to $20 Boss. And at the end, we also have an opportunity for some networking and connections. That's why we'd love for you to have your state in your name so that we can match people up if you'd like to work with people in your state. And if not, it's okay. We can match people up with people from all across the country and as part of the community. But that being said, we might start off with why we've got $20 Boss and why our YCA offers a program like $20 Boss. And it actually came as a response to the need that we need to equip our young people with innovation and enterprise skills. So YCA takes a look at the mindset, skill set, and tool sets, and we look at a number of key areas. And one of the things that we know is that the students who have those innovation and enterprise skills, they have an advantage over the students that don't. So on the next slide, Pete, we've got, we know that by 2030, 63% of all jobs will require enterprise skills, and those students who have those skills are a year and a half ahead of their peers in securing full-time work. In addition to that, on the next slide, we also know that Australia is behind in terms of entrepreneurial education. So that is why YCA has produced a number of different programs to help support students and schools. Some of our areas of focus are, as on the screen there, from community to focusing on design thinking. We have technology support, and probably the last part from there I would mention is our focus on lifelong learning. So regardless of wherever your students or your school is in your entrepreneurial journey, we have something there, a program or a support for you. So those are just some of the programs that we offer, and we might, for those of you who are interested, we're happy to have discussions about that. But the focus for today is $20 Boss. And these are some of the potential pathways which can be customized to your school. And maybe just to wrap up kind of like YCA's approach to things, we have these 4 pillars that, sorry, Pete? Yeah, these 4 pillars that we use to support entrepreneurial education in Australia. So that's the brief overview of how YCA supports entrepreneurial educators like yourselves. But I thought perhaps, Pete, we might skip this one, actually. We might play this one later. And we might actually start with the $20 Boss program. So if you're not familiar with it, essentially the way that it works is a student's given $20. They create their first business by selling a product or service. It culminates in a market day. And at the end, they return the $20 loan plus a dollar legacy fee. We've had a 90% return rate from all the businesses that have started. And that's how the $20 Boss program works. But it's one thing for me to share about it, but it's probably best if we go to our teacher and educator champions who have been through the program. And as I mentioned before, we are very lucky to have 3 educator champions to share with us today. We've got Damien Mounier, Head of Entrepreneurship at Haileybury in Victoria. We've got Jan Penny, Deputy Principal and Instructional Leader at Wyong High School. And we've got Adam McNamara, the Learn Plus coach at Caroline Chisholm College. So I'm going to invite each one of them up. We'll start with Damien, and if you could share a brief introduction of yourself before sharing your experience, journey, and what you think would be beneficial to those embarking on $20 Boss. Welcome back, everyone. Hopefully you had a chance to kind of think about some of the questions that you have or articulate them. We would love it if you could put, I guess, some of your deepest burning questions into the chat right now so we can kind of capture them, and our educator champions can see them as well. So when they share their experience, they might be able to give you some context on that. But we will start, and I'm feel very lucky to introduce our educator champions, and we're going to start off with Damien Mounier, who I was had the opportunity to meet at E3, Head of Entrepreneurship at Haileybury in Victoria. And Damien, if you would like to maybe just give a brief introduction about yourself and your experience with $20 Boss and entrepreneurial education, that would be amazing. And our educators are going to have roughly about 3 minutes each to share, so that's quite a short time period. But if you have got questions about anything that they share, please put them into the chat so that we can have an opportunity to address them later as we move into further breakout rooms. Damien, I'll hand over to you.
Cheers, Jeff. Good to see you again. And thanks, everyone, for the chance to just share what we do. So my name is Damien. I look after our entrepreneurship at Haileybury. So we've been on a bit of a journey over the last maybe 5 or 6 years to embed entrepreneurship in various different ways. And we do have some subjects where entrepreneurship sits within the curriculum, but the $20 Boss program we deliver as it's an extracurricular program. So students sign up for it, and it's delivered across our various campuses. We've got 4 campuses in Melbourne, as either a lunchtime or an after school activity. Typically it goes in the first half of the year. So 1 session a week, like 1 afternoon a week or 1 lunchtime a week. And it's grown so much that actually this year we've had to cap, just basically because of teacher numbers and student numbers and things like that. But we basically had to cap it that if students have done it before, we've had to unfortunately turn them away this year. And yeah, I think across our 4 campuses this year, we've got about, I think, something close to 500 kids now who are interested in doing the program this year. So we do run things a little bit differently, and it's just because it's evolved over the years, but we have the kids basically come up with their idea. We follow the $20 Boss program, and then when the students have got their idea, rather than just giving them $20, we get them to pitch for their $20, and then we've never had a student miss out, by the way. If they haven't addressed a particular idea or concept, we just ask them to go away and think, okay, how will you market this, or what's the area that they're missing out on? And then when we get to, we run the program over about 12 weeks or 12 after schools or 12 lunchtimes. And then at the end, we do trading over 2 weeks. So in the first week, the students trade because I guess one of the challenges is it's $20 that they start with. So for example, I had a group of girls who did scrunchies last year. there's only so many scrunchies you can make with $20. Like, or you can see here, Jory, here are some of our kids. So what they do is they trade, like say on the Monday, and on that first day, a lot of the items that they have are just samples, and students then order them. But to order them, they have to put like a down payment down. So this is their customers, and typically that down payment covers the cost. So we've spoken to them about, let's say, for example, it's a necklace there, you can see $12. They might say it's $2 down payment, and that $2 covers the cost if their customers don't come back to collect it. But this is the girls at the end of, like, so they trade on Monday, then they have a week to kind of go out, use the money that they've collected to go and buy more products to build out more things, and then they trade again on the Friday and then on the following Wednesday. So yeah, between each day of trading, they've got more and more. We all the money goes to charity for us as well. But we're actually looking this year. What I loved about that video is that the boy and the surfer had actually taken his business to the next level, which is one of the challenges that we've had. And so what we're doing this year is giving the students 50% of their profits to allow them to invest that back into the business if they want to continue with their business. Yeah, and that's us. I'm mindful. My 3 minutes went quickly then.
I know it's not very fair to make you summarize years of experience into 3 minutes, but you did a beautiful job, Damien. We really appreciate that. If you do have a question for Damien and how they rolled it out at Haileybury, again, put that into the chat, and hopefully we can have some time to address that later. I just might highlight something that stood out for me that might be useful, but I really love how you guys had several days. So you had you had a market, and then a week, and then a market, and then a week, and it gives the students an opportunity to either use the capital that they have, get some investment, and then create some more, but also get feedback and how they adjust their product and develop it. So I think that's a really standout thing to do. Thanks, Damien. Next, we will move over to Jan Penny, Deputy Principal at Wyong High School.
You're muted right now, Jan. No, you were unmuted, now you're muted still. There we go.
Sorry, guys, my apologies. Yes, our $20 Boss program at Wyong High School is a much smaller undertaking than you heard from Damien. I run it with my Year 9 elective class. It's a critical thinking class, and we're only a couple of years in. So as I explained to my breakout group, I'm not sure I'm very comfortable with the term champion teacher, but certainly the students that we've been running it with are outstanding champions. Their enthusiasm is boundless for the program, and it's an absolutely wonderful program. So if you're sitting out there on the cusp of, I'm not sure if I can do this, you certainly can, and the students will absolutely love it. Like Damien, we also get our kids to pitch in like a little bit of a Shark Tank type situation, but likewise, that's really just to have a really good look at where we think the perils and pitfalls for success may be. This last year, the students did such a variety of businesses that absolutely blew my mind. Many of them taught themselves a new skill. We had students undertaking the creation of beeswax wrappers. They hadn't done that before, but they saw some fabric lying around the house and they wanted to do something environmental. And there's a very big underpinning of a social justice or an environmental cause, and we promote that strongly. This particular year also, it was their choice to link that to a charitable donation as well. We had some outstanding successes from some students that created their own beanies for blood cancer. We had flowers made for wishful thinking, crocheted flowers. One young man decided that he did not wish to work with a team, but he had a skill set in drama, and he taught drama lessons out of my classroom over lunchtime. His one has continued outside of school. The advice I would give to those that have not done it before is that you'll find that there's an enormous enthusiasm. And if you're running it for a regular class time, there's a lot of times where the kids are sitting around not selling and not doing, you need to be really encouraging them there. So what we do is also make them produce a portfolio with an executive summary, with a business plan, so that those students are constantly going back to thinking about their products and thinking about marketing and promoting their products. Some of the other ones you can see on the screen there were services. So we had as I said, the young man that did drama as a service. And there was also a can return crew who worked with their elderly residents to go around and for a fee collect all their recyclable cans and put them into the bottle banks, and they did that as a fee for elderly residents. We have a market day as well. I love that idea of having that pre-market day to take orders, because a lot of our students were struggling at the back end with having enough time to produce products, particularly those that were crocheting, knitting and making candles and the like. So that's wonderful advice, and I thank Damien for mentioning that. But I wish you every success. It's an outstanding opportunity to see your students develop skills that, you know, I wasn't expecting that they were capable of, but they proved me wrong each and every year. And there was a question that popped up around profits, and I'm sure everyone has their own thoughts on this. We're here at Wyong High School. The students do keep their profits. It's highly motivating for them, so we allow that. But we also established at the outset that a certain proportion of those profits will go to a charity of their choice. So thank you for the opportunity to tell us about our program over here at Wyong High.
Thank you so much, Jan, for sharing. I'd love to echo, I don't know, kind of that surprise that you get from seeing students light up, particularly if they found, is it the product that they don't have any experience in, but they're lit up by it, and so they go research and find out about it, or it could be the cause as well. And I think maybe just to echo what you mentioned there, like, and you know, finding that balance between creating it as a business so they're really motivated by the profit themselves, and having the social enterprise aspect of as well, and that can build some sustainability for them taking their business into the future. So many great tidbits and shares in what you've given us. So thank you so much, Jan. And last but not least, I might open up the floor for Adam McNamara to share his journey at Caroline Chisholm College.
Thank you, Jeff, and hi to everyone. One thing I really want to impress, I guess, on everyone from my experiences, and it's certainly hearing the great stuff that's happening at the two other schools we've just heard from, I think make $20 Boss work for your school, like the context you're in, whatever that may be. For us, again, we're a different approach again to what we've heard tonight. Our school very much has focused on inquiry-based learning, and so that authenticity and being innovative in the way we the girls at our school. It's a high school it's a girls' high school, and so we do it in years 9 and 10 commerce. This year we had 105 students or thereabouts, and we do commerce in the stage. So we've now got more commerce classes than we started with $20 Boss 6 years ago, I think, when we first began. So I really do attribute $20 Boss to increasing numbers in our commerce classes, which is a nice outcome. It's not why we did it, but it was a nice outcome. We're certainly very focused on social responsibility with the way we do the enterprises, and really encourage the girls to think about how their business can be socially responsible. I guess at the minimum level, though, for us, what we then say is the money that is raised goes to a charity. In our school, being in the Catholic Diocese of Parramatta, we support a global charity called Caritas, and that's where the funds go at the end of the program. A couple of things that make ours unique. Some of these are not by choice, but certainly by circumstances. Our school is cashless now in terms of fundraising, for any fundraising and for any spend on site. And so the students and parents are, I guess, broadly in a change management process at the moment, getting used to having an app called QKR, or Quicker, as it's affectionately known. And what that required us to do with $20 Boss was once the girls got their $20 each, was to then have people buy their products in advance. So there was a lot of pre-ordering this time for us, which we've never done before. It wasn't something we chose to do, but in hindsight, it actually worked out pretty well because it meant the girls had locked in money. So to purchase on quicker, the people who buy, which for our girls is mostly other students and or staff, they had to basically buy the products in advance, which meant that they didn't know how much money was coming in. Another way I tried to make sure that each business had sufficient funds to buy stock or supplies and or ingredients was to group them in about groups of 5 to 7 or thereabouts, it just depended. So we ended up with 17 teams and ranging with starting capital, therefore, of anywhere between $100 and $140 per business. We let the girls choose their partners, but we had to merge a couple of teams just for, practicalities. And ours was a market day on one day, and there was a build up. So we devote all of one term in commerce to $20 Boss. So it's from cover to cover, from day one of term to the last day. Actually, we go into the next term when we have the market day. So we give them effectively a full 10 weeks worth of lesson time. And I guess that's a bit of a luxury. We feel that is a luxury that we can do that, but the school supports that. And so every single commerce lesson, it's mapped out very closely to the resources that Young Change Agents have provided us, and they are fantastic, those resources. I really encourage you to use those. And we just tailor them a little bit to our context and have found that to be really, really effective. The resources, the links, the whole lot. And it gives us a bit of a structure to work with. The girls particularly go by about week 3. So what's the business idea? And they haven't actually, we hold them back. It's like holding back a tide, but we say to them, we'll get to the business idea when you've done enough thinking. And we really try and keep them in that challenging thinking space. But we do it once every 2 years. And one other little thing that I think helped this year to differentiate $20 Boss from other fundraising in our school, and there is a lot that goes on in our calendar year, but what we decided was to say in $20 Boss, you can't sell any food. And that was one thing that shocks them at first because they're used to the traditional cake stalls and other things. But we really made that strictly a no food market, which meant, I think the outcome of that was some really creative ideas, which, I'm happy to have a chat, but I'm mindful of the 3 minutes. So I better stop. I don't know how long I've gone there, but that's a bit of a summary of what we've done.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Adam. So many beautiful nuggets in what you've shared. Everything from, I think, making, holding the students off to have that time to be creative and to search and to think for what's at the core of what we want to create, not just the first easy answer. So I think that's one thing. But I think the other thing that really stands out is how, and it's kind of come through with all the schools, how each school has made it their own. So there's a wealth of resources available with $20 Boss, but in what I've seen is that every school takes it and fits it and takes the pieces that they need to make it uniquely theirs. And I think if you heard another 5 or 10 more educator champions, you would see how they've tweaked it to their content. So there's a lot of opportunity there. But with some resources to help back that up.
There was one question that I saw early on, which was about how do you assess your students?
That is a great question that came up in our breakout room. I might just open up.
Yeah, I just had a thought while that question came up. And Damien and Jan, sorry, if you've got other ideas, please jump in too. But 1 or 2 things we've done, and again, the $20 Boss resources we tapped into really enthusiastically. One of them was an enterprise skills passport, and there's different ways you could do this, but what we did was create a Word or a Google Doc of that passport in a table form. And every time we did something per lesson or per sequence, it might be over a double lesson or 3 lessons, we'd say, all right, stop there. Which skills did you use or have you grown in? And that was something we assessed at the end. So it was not just what skills they were learning, but we were really conscious of the girls being aware of tapping into where they've grown in those skills. And there's about, from memory, 12 or 14 of those enterprise skills that you're given in the resources. And that was one particular way we found useful for them to do that. And the other was online. We call it an e-journal. So again, if you're in the Google classroom space, but the other versions of this, we would push out a doc to the kids and they had to write, specific answers or reflective answers to reflective questions along the way. So we assess their thinking as much as what they did. It was more about how they've grown in the learning in entrepreneurial skills.
Yeah, I'll echo that. I mean, I'm fortunate with our $20 Boss program that it's run as an extracurricular, so we actually don't assess that as such. But for our other entrepreneurship programs, we speak about the embracing failure. So the assessment is more based around the growth that the students have, the reflections that they do, not on the success of their business. And so we have little milestones for like tasks that they need to do. I guess they're just more like hurdle tasks, but any assessments around reflection, and we use the Australian curriculum, so we assess it against the creativity and critical thinking capability.
Sorry to butt in, I'm not an expert, but I did it a couple of years ago and the kids all did a presentation to their parents. It was a Christmas market that started at 5 o'clock, but we asked all the family members to come in at 4:30. And the kids presented what they had done. We took photos along the way. They showed their portfolio, what they got out of it, and they had to present that to their families and any teachers that came along as well.
Beautiful. Thanks, Natalie. And thanks, Adam and Damien, for sharing. I think maybe just to highlight the opportunities for reflection. And I love the focus on, reflecting on failures and that opportunity for growth, because probably one of the big mindset pieces in terms of entrepreneurship is, the goal isn't to get it right the first time, right? It's to learn from each iterative foray into the unknown and see what you can gain, and hopefully that brings you a little bit closer. So a lot there. I wonder if anyone else has anything to share. And Natalie, I really appreciate you jumping on. Anyone who's had any experience, I think, is of great benefit to people who are jumping into this.
Jeff, can you hear me? I have a question.
Yes.
I'm in a high school in Western Australia with a group of students in year 11 where they've actually come through an intensive English centre. So English is their second language. They're still learning the context of being in an Australian environment. So I'm interested to know if any of the experienced educators there have had experience with students where they've come from a different background, where English is their second language, where this is very alternative to perhaps the type of learning that they're used to. If anyone could embellish on that. Thank you.
Great question, Karen.
We haven't, but listening to what you've just described there, Karen, it does sound like, this is just me thinking off the top of my head as well, as challenging as perhaps that could be for the kids to get their head around the context. Perhaps in that I see a great opportunity for the unique cultures that they bring to their business ideas and being really innovative in that way. But no, I would love to offer some advice there, but we haven't had that particular challenge. I'm just hearing what you're saying, and that does sound like a wonderful opportunity to tap into that.
Similar, Karen, unfortunately, no, I haven't had experience with that, but we run the program, I guess, from years 5 to 7. And actually last year I split it up. I had the 5, 6s and the 7s. And even then I modified the language that I was using and the way that I, we got a bit more sophisticated with some of the business jargon, I guess. that maybe come with the year 7s, but with the year 5s, we just kept it really simple. Like, someone I was asking me earlier, Natalie, I think was asking about budgeting, and we just kept it really simple with the budgeting for the younger kids. And whereas with the older kids, they're creating Excel spreadsheets and things like that. So I think the great thing about the program is it's so adaptable. Like people have said it before. I think everyone will adapt it in their own way to their own audience, and that's the beauty of the program.
Karen, so I should just offer some, not necessarily advice, but I've run similar programs to $20 Boss with international students. So students that have come over to Australia for a quick 2-week, getting embedded international school, and run entrepreneurial thinking programs with them. And I found, regardless of where a teenager is from, they all love these types of programs. And I think the biggest reason they love it is they get to focus on something that's meaningful to them. So as long as, I suppose, you create a really safe environment that they feel really comfortable concentrating on something that they're really passionate about. It could be something to do with their own, their own community that they're from, or some challenges that they have that they want to address. And I think if you create that environment, I think regardless of where the teenager's from or their level of English, they're really going to love the program.
And Karen, we actually do have a number of, I'm not sure if we got the published video case studies of students from kind of those similar situation. In one in particular that I recall, it was I believe a student from Thailand, and he wasn't in a major city. He was in like maybe like in a country school, and the business that he ended up creating was, he knew farming, and he's like, well, I'll grow these Thai herbs that are unique, like this is my cultural knowledge, and it wasn't being supplied within like his where he lived, and he built a business of growing those plants and serving the community with those. And and English was not his first language, but that gave him, like, it allowed him to connect something of value from his culture and bring it into, like, have it valued within Australian context. So I think there are many opportunities for that. And we do have some toolkits that are pitched at different levels that might be of interest to you. But that being said, I think we've had some really amazing contributions, and I'm just conscious of the time, and I thought this might be the best point to get into some of the toolkits and resources that are available through $20 Boss. So Pete, is it possible to move to our thinking and toolkits, and then we can share some of our resources? All right. So I'm not sure if that's very large for everyone. Oh, hopefully it's okay. Perhaps it's just something to share is, as the students go through this process, if you're thinking about critical and creative thinking, what they'll be doing is they'll be going through the design thinking process, which is a combination of creative thinking, which is divergent and coming up with many different problems, and then convergent, moving into identifying and critically thinking about what is the best problem for us to solve, or what's the problem for us to tackle, and then doing the same with the solution, being convergent and creative, and then convergent and using critical thinking skills on identifying what is the solution that is best for our particular situation. So that's the kind of frame that is being used throughout the $20 Boss process. And we also have, as mentioned before, a range of different toolkits to support you as you roll it out. So that we've got 3 main toolkits. There's the full toolkit, which has 25 lessons, the light toolkit, which has 13 lessons. And then we've also got a 5-step toolkit, which perhaps, Karen, in your situation, you might take a look at this. It's a very simplified version. There are videos involved that you might access to start with, and then take some resources from some of the other toolkits. So it's a very flexible way to look at things, but there is an opportunity for you to gain access to all the toolkits and see which one fits best with you. After the toolkits, I think we have a number of other resources, so I might pass on to Renee to share some of those.
You're still muted, Renee.
Okay, here I am. So I just want to share some resource updates with you. So reason being, we're constantly adjusting, improving our resources based on feedback we get from educators and students. So just a few top ones that we've done recently is the updated Market Day guide. And that does have a few suggestions in there from other educators how you could possibly run it, and also lots of suggestions from YCA based on our experience as well. What we've also done in there is we've had questions, and I saw one actually in the chat before around how do you minimise the risk if you do have students with food businesses. And so in there now you'll find a whole sheet in terms of food safety standards to share with students if they are thinking about doing food for their market day. We've also put some additional links in there, update anything broken. So yeah, so now the resources are, fully up to date. So I'd really encourage you to go in to the Learning Hub when you can and download the new resources and use them accordingly as well. And what's coming up is we're actually looking at introducing, based on your feedback, a vision and impact check. So what this is partway through the $20 Boss program is to really have a more formal way to check in with students to ensure that they have community and purpose at the heart of what they're doing and not necessarily profit. So we've built some activities in there to ensure that students are really focusing on community and positive impact, and providing you with some resources. Looking at putting some youth visionary videos in there as well. And reason being is that sometimes students lose sight of the fact that they can do this too. And so by showing all the amazing case studies we have and embedding them in the resources for you, you've got the opportunity to inspire students as much as you need to. We're working on putting everything digitally as well so that students can just simply complete their worksheets and upload them straight into the Buddy app for you. And also the budgeting tool is now live, but I won't steal Pete's thunder because he will go through that later on. And lastly, you'll see in the yellow there, we're trying to look at ways, well, how can we get the community involved and how can we build capacity around entrepreneurial thinking in the community and understanding what a social enterprise is. So what we've introduced in the resource pack is something we're calling the People's Choice Award. So that means that students, community members, teachers, anyone who's coming to Market Day can actually cast their vote to say what business do they believe has or would have the biggest social impact. And by doing that, we're starting to, move the lens from purely about, making profit, making products to that's great, I have an awesome product, but who is it for and what is the impact I'm making for my community? So having that at heart. So by introducing the People's Choice Award, we've given you some voting cards in the resource pack as well. So please feel free to download those and give them out at Market Day with a little ballot box. And then whoever gets chosen as the People's Choice Award then gets automatic entry into the $20 Boss Awards as well. So next slide, please, Pete. And what other things have we been thinking about to support all of you fabulous educators? So the lovely Jeff is going to introduce the Educator Bootcamp. So you may have received an email from us about this. If you haven't, please let us know. But this is weekly updates. So we're not going to get you to do necessarily any exercise as part of the boot camp, but it's really just giving you some really fast facts, tips, updates that you might consider using in that week for $20 Boss or in future weeks. Latest updates on program improvement as well, which may help you with the design of your unit. So yeah, if you could sign up by the 8th of February for that one, that would be amazing. And I think if I could just get someone to put the link, if that's okay, in the chat. And I'll address that question that Andy just put in there as well. And Bella said, the link's in there. Okay, sure. And the monthly office hours, again, is to understand how we can support you, or even if you just want to bounce ideas off us. Like, I've been thinking about doing this. Have you heard of any other schools doing it? Do you think it would work? So that's 30 minutes with one of us, myself, or Jeff, or another member of the team, where you can chat through that as well. So the kickoff for that is Wednesday, the 1st of March, and we'll give you some more information about that. So I just while I've got you, I'll just have a look at Andy's question. So if those who haven't read the chat, Andy's asking, so what do we do for students that have services as opposed to products? Because obviously it's very easy to do a market day with products, and sometimes students can see it challenging to do with services. So I'd encourage input from anyone else, but I'll just let you know how I've seen it work well in the past, is that the service-based business have a way to present their idea, present their service. So whether it be a digital display that they develop, that they can talk people through it on their laptop, whether it be posters that they can talk through as well. And as part of that is getting the community members that come to be able to engage in that conversation, and potentially use things like QR codes to get more information about their service and how to sign up. And also encouraging students, if possible, to have prototyped the service before market day, so they can actually talk about how they've delivered their service to other members of the community. But happy to open it up to other suggestions as well. Cool. And I think just one more for me, if that's okay, Pete. So some professional development opportunities. If this is something that you would love to do, or your school is open to it as well, we can provide some on the ground professional development for you and your teachers as well. There's lots of flexibility around how those are run and the focus that you would like those, but it's really looking at how we can I suppose build capacity within your school and within our communities, so that more and more educators feel more comfortable in delivering these programs. And bookings are still available. If you're interested, let us know. Okay, I think it's over to you, Pete, to talk about some.
I believe it is. I'll be quick, but so we have a suite of online resources for you and for your students to run $20 Boss. These live on our Entrepreneurial Learning Hub. So if you have already logged in, you will have seen the Entrepreneurial Learning Hub. Up here in the Learning Hub is where you get access to the resources. So the facilitator guides, the slides, the worksheets for your students to use. We now also have a buddy app, which is a companion to you running the program for your students. So while they are completing the activities in class, they also have access to the learning material online, and the ability to so learn online, and then the ability to unlock skills badges, so that they can, kind of get reinforcement of their learning or motivation for their learning. And within each module, they get access to different learning resources. These could be videos, external links, or documents. They have the ability to upload a document. So that might be a completed worksheet or a photograph of their prototype. And that is, for you as the educator, that is your evidence that they are engaging with the skills and the tools that they're learning in $20 Boss. And then each individual student can write a reflection on that lesson. So why might a social enterprise choose one impact method over another? This is, for you as an educator, evidence that they are engaging in that mindset development and developing the entrepreneurial mindset. So once they complete each of these activities, they then unlock a badge. And brand new this week, this is what Renee alluded to, we have an online budgeting tool. And this is, again, there's benefits for your students and benefits for you as educators. So benefits for students to be able to use a tool and make it feel real and practical. They are actually developing a business budget and tracking against their forecast, tracking actuals against their forecast. And for you as educators, and some of you, if you haven't run $20 Boss before, may not know the pain. But what we heard from our educators is the pain of tracking the budget submissions from each of the teams in order for them to unlock the $20 and then, track their progress across the term and see which students need support, which students are doing really well. This was built for you. So you get all of the budgets in the same format, in the same place, and you can see what is going on. You can, students are entering their costs. You are tracking what their forecasts are, how they're going with their finances, if you've collected the cash and returned the loan. And you get to manage receipts in the platform as well. So if this sounds interesting to you, which I hope it does, we have the first 100 schools to sign up have a funded place. We have about 50 places left. So we will in a moment submit a form here, but if you would like to use this with your students, with your classes, just submit an expression of interest. You have an advantage if you're running this in term 1, because I'm very keen to have people use this as soon as possible. So I'm available for questions, but I'm going to throw it back to Jeff now. And I believe we're going to throw you into a breakout room.
Thanks so much, Pete. So we have thrown a lot at you just now. So you've got awareness of hopefully some of the resources and some of the support pathways that are there, some of the tools that we've introduced. And I apologize, there's some vacuuming going on in the background if you can hear that. But we now have an opportunity to, again, go into breakout groups and to see out of everything that we've just shared, what are some of the opportunities that you've noticed? What are some of the questions, the new questions that may have popped up? And Pete will set us up into groups. And if you still have some questions for some of our educator champions, it's an opportunity to ask them there as well. Thanks, Damien. Thanks, Adam, for sharing those. I think it speaks to part of that mindset shift that we want to have with the students, like letting them having that experience that where they can realize, wait a second, I am really creative. I can come up with many ideas. And you're right, it doesn't have to be my first idea. Well, now I look at it, it isn't my first idea that's always my best. It's one I've kind of like pushed beyond. And I think with that experience, having that experience up front is something that you can always come back to with the different parts of the program as they need to come up with creative ideas for their marketing or creative ideas for whatever part of the process it is. So we've had a lot that has been shared. I'm very conscious of the time, so I might just move on to possible next steps. So Pete, if we could just bring up our last few slides. Thank you. So some of the next steps that we have are, we have a couple of different opportunities. So there's an opportunity to get matched up with a buddy. So if you are interested, you can sign up and we'll try to match you up with a buddy, or if there's someone that you've connected with within this kickoff, you might make sure that you reach out to them or find their contacts before we end off. We also have a Facebook group that is full of our $20 Boss community. So teachers who have run it in the past, teachers who are running it this term and this year, and it's an opportunity to put in questions and get feedback from people who have done it or are in the process of going through it. We also have, sorry, I might just share, For those of you, like, these are some of our next steps for $20 Boss. If you are in a position where you've actually run $20 Boss a few times and you're thinking, actually, what's the next step beyond $20 Boss? We have a new program that is being rolled out this year. And it's called Digital Boss, and it would be kind of the next step. So kind of just thinking into the future, if you're brand new or if you're a little bit further on that journey, and it's an opportunity for students to not only design, but also execute on building a digital product or service. So that's Digital Boss. And if you have any questions about that, feel free to reach out to us or me about it, and I'd be happy to chat with you about the opportunities there. As Pete mentioned before, if you want to be, I guess, one of the 50 remaining schools to get access to the budgeting tool, and then sign up with hopefully we can post a link into the chat for everyone there. And I think I've covered most of these. Yes, enter your students. Oh, yes. We have, last year we ran a $20 Boss awards, and I think we'll be doing it in another 2 years. So maybe a little bit of extra incentive. It's an opportunity for the young students who have created their $20 Boss business or social enterprise to be recognized. So that's something to shoot towards, but it's also a great event to go to see what other ideas are out there. And then once again, if there are any things that you need support with, YCA is here to support you. So if you reach out to us, we are happy to help you along on your journey. I might stop there. I know the vacuum is coming in and out. I don't know how much you guys hear. I thought this was the quiet floor, but I might open it up to Pete, Renee, Bella, anyone else who has anything else to say to kind of wrap things up.
Okay, perfect. I also wanted to mention the 2022 $20 Boss Awards event is actually on our YouTube. So if you wanted to watch that for more ideas, Candace Collins had quite a few amazing entries. So she could be someone to reach out to as well if you were interested in that. And I think you're on the Facebook group, aren't you, Candace? Yes. Yeah. Perfect.
I just like to say, I just heard that this is our biggest educator turnout ever for a kickoff. So wanted to say thank you to all those people that were driving whilst listening. Hope you're doing it safely. I had a few of those in my breakout groups, and that we really appreciate you gifting this time to us and obviously to your students who will benefit from everything that you do. And yeah, and thank you so much. And I look forward to working more with you this year.
And a big thank you to our educator champions who have come and shared their knowledge and their experience, and everyone else who has shared on the call today. I think every time I hear about what is happening in the classrooms, I just get excited all over again. And I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that feeling. So it is really, really great to have people come back to the community and say, it's okay, I was there once, it was scary, we made it through, just like we're going to do with our students, right? They try something new and it's like, it's going to be okay. Maybe as one of the final things, if there is something that your biggest takeaway, we'd love to have that into the chat. And if there's still a lingering question, we'd love to have that into the chat to close up. That'll let us know what landed and what we need to keep, and will also let us know what we need to get rid of and what we need to add. So if you've got any final thoughts on your biggest takeaway or still a remaining question, pop that into the chat. Otherwise, we are available, as was shared. YCA is here to support, so please reach out to us.